This is just an amazing story from the Daily. Can't help but grin. I mean, it's a big day for UFOs actually here in Washington, and we're going to peg it to this story from the Daily Mail. Now, before you say, oh, it's the Daily Mail, how can you believe it? Many of the people who wrote it have been long-time researchers, very well respected in the community, and furthermore, there's been a real mainstream media blackout on the story very recently. Don't forget that the whistleblower complaint from Dave Grush and others was rejected from the New York Times, from the Washington Post, from many other major outlets. So in some cases, this really comes down to who's willing to publish what seems to be a highly legitimate story. Let's put it up there then on the screen. This says that the CIA secret office, the Office of Global Access, which apparently is based here in the United States, a wing of the CIA has played a central role in collecting alleged 9 alien spacecraft crash sites from around the world. This is since 2003. Not necessarily that these have crashed since 2003, but they have played a role since 2003, quote, in orchestrating this collection. The 3 sources who spoke on condition of anonymity to avoid reprisals have been briefed by individuals involved in these alleged UFO retrieval missions. And the claims, though, as I'm reading from them, though they sound like they come from a science fiction novel, are part of a growing body of evidence suggesting that the government could indeed be hiding advanced vehicles that were not made by humans. They peg it to a major fight that remains going on here in Washington around the UFO transparency legislation. A lot of this is actually coming to head today while we are filming this. It won't be clear until the end. The TLDR really is this. The Senate passed a piece of legislation inside the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act, includes all the funding for the Pentagon, which included an amendment that required transparency from the government. It was very specifically worded around what the government has knowledge-wise around UFOs. There has now been a effort inside the House of Representatives to try and kill that effort. Representative Tim Burchett, who's been a real leader for transparency, spoke with Tucker Carlson just yesterday about the cover-up here. Here's what he had to say.
That's really all I want is transparency. Where we're spending all this money on something, and where's it going, and why do they not trust the American public? Those are the things that people need to ask. You can, as I said at the hearing, I said, we're not going to bring in a UFO, we're not going to bring in little green men, but what we want is transparency. And unfortunately, we don't have much of that in the United States Congress because they'll, oh, look, there's another shiny object over here. They'll misdirect us over here. They'll misdirect us over there. But I believe this community is very, very in tune to what's going on and the cover-up that's been going on.
So obviously Burchett, he is on the committee. He also has been denied multiple classified briefing rooms in order to get classified information from the UFO whistleblower, Dave Grush. And the chief opponent of this legislation has been one of his colleagues who is very, very influential on the committee. Here is what Representative Mike Turner, who has been that opponent, he was actually caught in the hallways of Congress yesterday. Here is what he claims is why he has opposition to the legislation. Let's take a listen.
We have heard that you had some opposition to that language. Is that true? And if it is, what are your objections to it?
Sure. Well, I've spoken to Senator Rounds about this directly, and I'm not holding up his provision at all. I do think it's a poorly drafted piece of legislation. Also, what I really find interesting about what I call the pro-alien caucus over here in the House, unlike you, not one of them has ever spoken to me about any of these issues. I mean, you and I are speaking. You would think that if this is that important of an issue to them, at least one member of the House who's advancing this cause would actually come up and substantively talk to me about this issue. No one has even raised it. Okay. Perhaps you might want to ask them why they haven't.
As I understand it, that is not 100% true in terms of the people like Anna Paulina Luna and even Democrats, Jared Moskowitz, others who have had objections. But Krystal, a lot of people are pointing to the fact that that congressman has some of the biggest donations from military-industrial complex and others, and a long relationship with the intelligence community. I am told, and I can only tell you this on background from people who are involved, just got an update from people intimately involved this morning, and here's what they had to say. They said that there's a lot of moving parts on the situation. If, in terms of what will going on, they believe that they will overcome the hurdle on actually getting the legislation attached, but they're not 100% sure. So lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. It could be that the congressman's objections are legitimate, but from everyone I know who's involved behind the scenes in the process, he really has been doing this at the behest of the intelligence community. Another reason why
he doesn't really raise any objections.
Exactly.
He's just like, well, it's poorly crafted. By the way, why don't they talk to me? That's not really like a reason.
Some more inside baseball. One of the reasons why the intel community wanted to nuke this in the House and not in the Senate is because this was a priority for Senator Schumer, who's the majority leader.
Yeah.
So the CIA and all those others didn't want to piss off Schumer by going after what he was doing in the Senate. And they're like, well, we have the Republicans in the House. We'll just use our stooges who are there to try and kill the legislation. But there's enough actually public, I would say, not outrage per se, but enough people who are obsessed with this topic like me, who have been monitoring all of this and who have been calling and bringing attention. So it is certainly possible that we could prevail with this legislation to actually get transparency. So that's the subject of it all.
But tell me more about what you thought about this Daily Mail report. I found it interesting. You know, they go into the description of what this office is supposed to be, the OGA. They talk about one of the guys who supposedly set up the office, how he described his job. He said he was responsible for leading and managing strategic unwarned access programs that deliver intelligence from the most challenging denied areas, and served as program manager with responsibility for the end-to-end system acquisition of an innovative news source and method for the intelligence community, which I enjoyed, like the ghoul speak, number one. But yeah, what'd you make of this report? I mean, again, like Daily Mail, you're like, I don't know, question marks, eyebrows raised.
Right.
But they have a lot of sources. And the thing that made me the most, I guess, skeptical of the CIA's story on this, or the fact that they, you know, deny that this is really going on, was some of that ghoul speak covering up what seems to be whatever is going on.
I'm glad you read that. That's exactly what I was going to point to. I'm like, point to me and tell me that's not the shadiest thing that you've ever heard. And again, it raises the question of, we're entering a binary world. It's like they're either involved in crash retrieval for foreign objects, China, Russia, India, who knows, one of the world's most advanced countries developed something which we allegedly had never heard of. It's never even showed up in research or any of these things, and the CIA is covering that up. That in itself is a scandal, you know. It's a secret U.S. government program. I've said this too. Then sure, release it. You know why? Because it would obviously have incredible commercial application, and we would all have to stop having to be on 16, 17-hour flights if you want to go to Asia. Or it is extraterrestrial. Now, of course, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. All of this is just even more 3 whistleblowers say, and enough people in the comments are going to be like, just show me the damn crap. I agree with you. That's why I support the legislation, because if that is going to lead to any sort of disclosure. The other point, though, that I would say is, after the JFK movie by Oliver Stone, incredible movie, came out in 1991. It led to the 1992 JFK Assassination Records Act, which required release over the next 20 years. And guess what? It's still 2023, and we don't have it. And the reason why is because there are very substantial interests in Washington, in every White House since, in Congress, and within the CIA, who don't want us to know that they were deeply involved in the assassination plot to kill Kennedy. So it's not like this is a perfect catch-all. I think this is actually equivalent really to that, which is another step.
It's a tool.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
And because that is a law on the books, then people like Jefferson Morley, who's a researcher, and affiliated organizations can go and say, you are in breach of the law you passed, of your congressionally mandated responsibilities. So they can use that as a cudgel then to try to secure additional documents. And, you know, they have not gotten everything, but they have been able to, you know, secure additional information that has been revelatory in terms of JFK's assassination. So, you know, without really having a dog in this fight, I'm just for transparency, and let's learn whatever we can about whatever the hell is going on.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate always a neutral observer here on the story. So we'll continue to keep everybody updated. There's allegedly going to be a press conference sometime today. If it's big or anything like that, I'll give everybody an update. But I'm watching it closely. I'm talking a lot with the people who are involved on this. It's not actually that big of a circle. Wasn't that hard to find them in terms of some of the advocates and all. So we'll keep track, and we'll let you guys know.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.